It is major news. Now, it's true that the Israelis, I don't think, would have taken the risk of giving that information earlier on if they hadn't been pretty sure. And we know they have very, very solid intelligence when it comes to their knowledge of what's going on inside Hezbollah. They've demonstrated that in the previous days. But well, I think where this is going to go now is anybody's guess. The question mark is how degraded are the capabilities of Hezbollah and who might take the leadership of the organization now. Now, there is one possibility which I'd say would be the logic one if you look at the way the organization is structured, and that is named Qasem, who is the deputy of Secretary General. So I suppose he could potentially just step into the job because that would be, I'd say, logical. Then again, he's not as charismatic, he is not as well known as Hassan Nasrallah himself. But there are many question marks. Who might take power and what is left of the missiles and weapons stockpile of Hezbollah? Because it's important to note that until now, if you take, for example, what happened a couple of days ago when Hezbollah decided to attack Tel Aviv, they did so with one Qadr missile. The Qadr missile is a longer range missile. It's more advanced missile than what the organization has been using in northern Israel till now. The thing is, they sent one missile, and they know full well that the Israelis are indeed going to intercept that missile. So they sent it as a symbol towards the seat of Mossad and claimed that launch. The question is now, whoever is going to take power might decide to use whatever is left of the missile stockpile at once in order to cause more damage inside Israel, or else wait for a ground invasion. But it's true that if you take what happened with Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh was killed by Israel in Iran. It was replaced by Yahya Sinwar, who is arguably much more radical when it comes to his policies and decisions than Ismail Haniyeh was. Who is going to take the reins of Hezbollah? That's anybody's guess. Of course, Iran is going to have a hand in that choice. And where the organization is going to go is a big question mark because it is desperate. It's a very powerful militia. It is seen to be the best armed, non-state armed group in the world. And they could decide to just basically use everything they have. Now, the CIA, before the over 2,000 air raids Israel conducted inside Lebanon, believed that Hezbollah had between 120,000 and 200,000 missiles and rockets at hand. And also the other figure was 45,000 fighters, 20 of them active duty, 25,000 reserve. So that, of course, means a lot of potential boots on the ground. Will they step down, which is unlikely because that is not exactly the culture of the group, or will they go all out, or will they hold this line of responding without triggering something even worse than what's been happening to them in the past few days?
The other thing worth pointing out here, Nasrallah, as controversial as he was among his supporters, he was popular, he was charismatic. So when we have a successor named, how big will Nasrallah's shoes be to fill? And do you think there could possibly be perhaps a power struggle within the organization?
Now, the shoes to fill are absolutely huge. Hassan Nasrallah was at the head of Hezbollah for 32 years. Basically, he arrived at a stage where the organization was not very powerful. He built it into this crown jewel, if you will, of what the Iran calls its axis of resistance. It's an organization that's operating inside Lebanon, but also overseas. You've got to realize that it's also built upon a base of social services to the local population in the areas which it controls. It's actually stepped into the shoes of the state, which has totally deserted the southern part of Lebanon, after the Israelis pulled out. So basically, the organization Hezbollah is powerful politically, it's powerful militarily, it controls land, but it's also running schools, hospitals, social services. It works. It is funded, of course, by Iran and other foreign powers, but it's also funded internally. Okay, Shias will choose which cleric, if they're religious, they want to give some of their money to, usually around 10% of their income. So they will shop around, if you will, and choose one cleric. In this case, Hassan Nasrallah managed to get all that or a very large part of that money and that influence politically. So it's going to be very difficult to replace him, especially he is a charismatic man who was a very charismatic man who had a very strong command of the classic Arabic, which is very impressive to his public, and also someone who could be quite amusing. I know that sounds remarkable, but in his speeches and the way he would address people. So he was incredibly popular in the Hezbollah neighborhoods. Obviously, he was also loathed by a large part of the Lebanese public.